There are certain moments that stick in your memory forever. You might remember the first ride you had in the tractor as a kid. If you're a parent, you probably know exactly where you were when you heard a child was on the way. For many of our growers, one such date is February 15th, 1973. It's a date that forever changed the trajectory of the entire Red River Valley, the moment when our growers found their voice and founded one of the world's first and largest farmer-owned beet sugar cooperatives.
I remember seeing the pictures of when the vote was being taken down in Fargo in the Great Hall, and it's unbelievable the amount of people that were sitting in that room. What's even more unbelievable is how many visionaries were sitting in that room.
With a simple vote, a little bit of controversy, and a whole lot of hard work, we turned a failing sugar company into a story of limitless potential and sweeter tomorrows.
The company was sort of farming the business into the ground, and it looked like they were going to milk it for a couple more years and then discontinue. It looked like they were not investing in the company. Right at a time when we were doing so much better with agronomic practices and growing better crops, it looked like they were going to glide slope that down to nothing and shut the door.
I think a lot of that has to do with just a general acceptance that relationships, true sound relationships, are built during challenging times, when you have to go through hard times with other people.
For many years leading up to 1973, American Crystal Sugar Company had been shrinking, and earnings were declining. The Denver, Colorado company was reducing contracted acres and closing plants. In 1971, American Crystal closed its Chaska, Minnesota plant after years of difficulty in turning a profit. The outlook for Red River Valley sugar beets looked grim. And when Growers Association Secretary Al Bloomquist proposed that growers band together and buy American Crystal for book value, the naysayers painted an even bleaker picture, calling their profit and expansion figures impossible. If a sugar company that had been successful for 75 years couldn't make money, how could a bunch of farmers do any better? 50 years later, we found out. In the beet fields of the Red River Valley, the pilers, factories, and thriving communities answer the question better than words ever could.
I think Crystal would have failed eventually if the farmers didn't buy it out. And if there wasn't beets in the valley, it would be a totally different place.
My dad was in that room in 1973, and my father-in-law was in that room in 1973.
If they'd not started the co-op, why, I don't think we would be raising sugar beets.
If the previous generation hadn't had the guts to go ahead and buy the company, I don't think there would be sugar beets anymore. Just with all the different levels of what it takes to get that crop in, processed, and sold, that's probably beyond the individual grower.
We took a chance 50 years ago and bought the company, and we've improved it and improved it and improved it, and we're still here today.
After 50 years of growth, investment, and cooperation, American Crystal Sugar Company is the country's largest producer of beet sugar. It's a success story like no other, a story that started with growers. But with every new chapter, there are new people who take part in our efforts to be the best beet sugar company in the world. Each is vital to the prosperity of the valley. And it is estimated that the sugar beet industry has a $6 billion impact on the region's economy.
The reason we've been successful for 50 years is because we all pull together in the same direction towards the same goal. And that all along, beets have been the crop that has paid the bills up in the Red River Valley. It's particularly where I am, in the heart of the Red River Valley. Sugar beets in the rotation is why we've been successful and enjoy the lifestyle we have today.
American Crystal Sugar is unique from other commodity groups in that each of us as growers are working independently on our farms, but that we come together to harvest this crop for the greater good of the company.
For me, it's a lot of confidence because I feel like it's the best way for me to be able to maintain and continue to develop a farm that future generations will want to take home and take over and continue on.
We as farmers, we harvest our beets. We cross the scale and we dump them at the piler. We are now done with that product. They now become possession of American Crystal. If it's not for the people that are out there 24/7 piling those beets for us, Trans Systems running the beets to the factory, I have friends, I have relatives, I have neighbors that work in the factories and enjoy the work there. The growers enjoy the people that work there. If we don't have them, we don't have a product that's sitting on the shelf. The pride that they take in making sure that that gets to there is so impressive.
The community and camaraderie that has been built up around American Crystal Sugar is second to none.
Really nice to have those kind of people around to help us out. Can't do it without them. Piler people, all the factory workers, we're lucky to have them.
The co-op is important because each level of the co-op has their own speciality. Ours is provide the best crop you can, healthiest beets you can, and then you've got the ag staff who has to pile the beets and store the beets and preserve them as well as they can by the time the processing guys get a hold of them. And then the processors have to do their best job, and I wish I knew more about that, because if it wasn't for the guys in the factory, there's no reason we'd be out here. And that, as well as the sales team, I am so glad I'm not in charge of sales, because I have no idea who I would sell the sugar to. So as a co-op, we are able to do this.
We nurture growth in two critically important fields, here at home, on our farms and in our communities, and in the corridors of Washington, D.C. With a strong collective voice, we ensure our cooperative can sustain itself for generations, and the broader agriculture industry offers the continued promise of prosperity and success.
We would not be here without the Farm Bill and the sugar program. Taking care of that is almost job number one. And I don't know that a lot of growers understand that part, although the Political Action Committee is very good at educating growers on the importance of getting our word out in Washington, D.C.
Without the policy, we have nothing. We need to continue to go out there to tell our story. And that's exactly what it is. It's a story that we tell every time we go out there. We run into somebody out in the hall, or we have a meeting with somebody, and the first thing is they thank us for coming. Because we're farmers. Trust me in a suit and a tie is not in my comfort zone, but that's what you do. And we go out there, and they are so happy to see us because we take the time. We're not paid to come out there like some of the other lobbying crews are, and we get to sit down and tell our story. The 142,000 jobs that we create, the amount of money that comes turning back, where union labor is highly respected in that limelight.
We learned that early on, that there's a good reason to be in Washington when they formulate Farm Bill policy. We've been very active in that, proactive. We don't wait around for bad things to happen. We try to be there early and make suggestions and implement a policy that's good for the consumer, good for the taxpayer, and good for the farmer.
I just want to give credit to the plant breeders. Plant breeders have done so much for us. How did we achieve this? Plant breeding. And it's going on in the grain, and our yields are unbelievable.
American Crystal Sugar Company looks a lot different than it did 50 years ago. The next 50 begin from a place of strength, abundance, and excitement for what's to come. The future looks sweeter than ever.
You can't farm like your father. Everything has to change.
It's humbling for me to think about the fact that I'm just young enough right now where I could still very well be around when American Crystal Sugar celebrates their 100th year anniversary 50 years from now. We're just on this incredible trajectory. I'm very excited to see what happens in the next 50 years. I really hope I'm still around.
I can remember asking, after my first grandson was born, I walked into the next board meeting and I asked David Berg, who was CEO at the time, I said, what are we doing today to make sure this place is successful when he's able to come and farm 25 years from now? And I think what that did is give David a different perspective on what long-term planning is. We as farmers look at 25 years as long-term planning.
We often talk about what is this place going to look like in the next 10, 15, 20 years. The biggest thing that's brought up is, are we going to farm in the tractor? Are we going to farm in the office via a computer screen?
I consider myself a caretaker of this property because it's been here way before I was, and it's sort of just my turn to keep the land productive and have the possibility for future generations to do the same thing.
My focus in the next 5 years is really on efficiency. Even though I've been farming for about a decade now, I'm going to be standing on my own 2 feet, especially financially, after this coming year. And I can't compete with the land investors and the big operators around me for land. I really need to focus on how to make what I have the most efficient, how to make the land that I have the most productive that I can.
I hope that my sons, grandsons, granddaughters, daughters can enjoy a lifestyle I've been able to enjoy. I hope they can adopt efficiencies that allow them to be a part of the agricultural world 25 years from now.
I'm excited to continue a generational thing. I'll be the 6th generation of farmers working on this farm. That's a pretty big achievement. I'm excited to see what I can do with the farm, see how much I can grow it, how much I can push it.
My grandfather, he told me one time, he says, someday you're going to sit in a house and drive tractors from your house, because the technology will change, and we're not too far from that now.
So for me to see what I've seen is like my father going from horses to mechanized ag.
Today, we can look back with pride and look ahead with excitement. Most importantly, we can be grateful for what we have and what we've built together.
I am grateful to be part of such a strong network of fellow growers.
I just was born lucky to be able to do things I like every day in an area that's more suited to it than any other in the world. This is some of the richest ground in the world is right here where I farm every morning. I think I'm just blessed to be able to do that. I don't think everybody's been that lucky.
Every year's rewarding. Put a crop in the ground and take care of it, get it off. It's really fun to work with my dad and my son. It's fun every day.
The Red River Valley is known for its limitless horizons. This cooperative is known for the same. Without a doubt, we can look forward to a sweeter tomorrow.